Hey, everybody. Welcome to Takeoff with John Clark, presented by Live Casino Hotel Philadelphia. And the Eagles are the top team in the NFL, a record of 9-1. And we're going to bring in a guy right here. He knows about being 9-1 because the last time the Eagles were 9-1, they went on to win the Super Bowl 5 years ago. Malcolm Jenkins, former Eagles Pro Bowl safety, an Eagles legend, one of the best free agent signings in Birds history. How you doing these days?
I'm doing great. The Birds are 9-1. Life is good.
Yeah, and you're in Philly a lot. You're in Philly right now. So give me an idea of the vibe that you sense around the Eagles. You also had the Phillies World Series run. That was pretty cool. But the vibe in the city with the Eagles being the top team in the NFC and the NFL.
Yeah, there's always a lot of energy whenever the Eagles are doing well here in Philly. But I was surprised, to be honest. The last time we had this much success early in the season, the city was a little bit more hesitant to just embrace it and lean into it. Now, all you heard all year was about trying to go undefeated and all these other things. Philly's a little different this time around, but obviously the energy is high, a lot of high expectations.
So right now, when you look at the NFC, let's not worry about the AFC. There's some really good teams there. But when you look at the NFC, boy, I mean, the Eagles are 9-1, but you see the Vikings, the Cowboys, they're right behind them. Even the Giants are in there. Yeah. 49ers now looking very formidable. Who would you have as the – yeah. How would you rate the teams in the NFC right now?
I mean, honestly, even if you did jump to the AFC, I think it's the same over there. You have the Eagles, obviously, with a 2-game lead pretty much on everybody. So they've got, the games ahead. But when you look at that next tier, it's hard to say who's the next best team. The 49ers look awesome, especially after adding McCaffrey. You got the Commanders that are all of a sudden red hot, even beating the Eagles that can make a splash. The Giants are right there. Cowboys, obviously. Vikings, even, when they play their best, they're a team that's right there. All of it's shaping up for just an interesting December and an interesting playoff bracket. But I think once you drop below the Eagles, I think it's really anybody's game. To me right now, I like the 49ers. D'Amico Ryans has that defense playing well. That offense is super physical and versatile. Jimmy G's doing a great job. He's got a steady quarterback. So I think I personally like the 49ers as that next team up. But it's really the pick of the litter.
Yeah, how about going back to 2017 when you guys had home field advantage throughout the playoffs? When you look at the Eagles having this 2-game lead right now, but you do have games against the Giants and Cowboys coming, give us an idea of just how important getting that home field advantage throughout the playoffs is, because you experienced that.
Yeah, I think the next month of football is the prime, part of the season, especially for the Eagles. The faster you can get to that number 1 seed is also the key to it. You don't want to be in a dogfight come week, 17 when the last game, and then you gotta, then you lose it and you gotta go right into the playoffs after being, kind of high on emotions. So you want to rack up those wins as fast as you can. So the last 2 weeks of the season, you're resting your starters. You're not having to play in these emotional games, especially as you're talking about these divisional games that come up. This is where we'll know what this Eagles team is going to be made of. And they got the opportunity to control their destiny really in the next 4 weeks.
Now, you have won 2 Super Bowls, and going back to the one you won with the Saints, I believe you guys were 13-0, and I'm sure everybody was talking about a possibility of an undefeated season because people in Philly were already talking about that here at 8-0. Give me an idea, 13-0, you had a loss or 2. I think you had a couple losses. In the end, do you think that in a way can help you? Because we saw the Eagles lose when they were 8-0, and maybe it kind of reset them.
Yeah, honestly, I felt bad because I think I jinxed them. But a couple weeks ago, I was at practice and I talked with Jason Kelsey, and I was, just like, man, I love the focus that the team has. I said, honestly, I kind of hope that y'all lose one just to kind of dispel all of the undefeated talk, because that undefeated team that everybody wants to talk about, the Dolphins, are not Super Bowl champions. So nobody cares about being undefeated. Nobody, I can guarantee you, nobody in that locker room, if you check all their notebooks at the beginning of the season, wrote, we want to be undefeated as a goal. It's always, we want to win a division, first number 1 seed into the playoffs, Super Bowl, and that's it. So sometimes you need that to get humble, to get back to the grind, to really like stop focusing on what people are saying. But I think this team under Jalen Hurts and Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, BG, they've got this team very, very focused on the day-to-day grind, staying in the moment. They know they have an opportunity. But yeah, now that undefeated stuff is out of the window, they can win ugly games like they did last week against the Colts when, people style points really don't matter. You just need the W. You need to figure out a way to get into the end zone, get out on the road and get that win. And they did. And those are the things that really matter as you build up to that one game or the one opportunity later in the year.
Yeah, a lot of people now say the Cowboys are the best team in the NFC, the way they beat the Vikings, because the Eagles didn't dominate the Colts. But give us an idea, when you're in the locker room every single week, it's really tough to beat a team handily every week. Do you think in the end, a win like that on the road in Indianapolis helps because you faced adversity and you were able to pull it out?
100%. You need to learn those lessons about yourself as you go. The Eagles have been doing, they've been undefeated, until then. Just blowing through everybody, been looking great. Everybody's doing well. They've got specials about you every time you touch the field. There's all these things happening, but you never really get to test like your own weaknesses or your own abilities. And I think losses and adversity, they force you to reevaluate. They force you to think about that, and you learn things about yourself. And I think what the Eagles have learned is that they are not a front-running group. They're not somebody who can just dominate front when things are well, but they can weather the storm, come back and establish themselves in a game, when they need to. And I think that that's a lesson that they'll know later down the year when they're playing better teams with more on the line.
So the Eagles right now, the defense has given up around 18 points a game. Cowboys lead the NFL like 16.7 points. Eagles are only giving up 300 yards a game. That's second best in the NFL. They've got the most takeaways in the NFL, the third most sacks. But being in Philly, we still hear noise about Jonathan Gannon. So why do you think that is, Malcolm?
I don't know, but, a lot of it is sometimes you got to know what to ignore. The numbers and the statistics don't lie. But at the same time, you got to focus on the results, right? Are we winning? And do we have a team that looks like they can continue to win as we move forward? And they do. And I think, of course, you're going to have a couple performances here or there. Might not be the style that you want, that we've been used to, but is it effective? And does it complement this team in particular? And I think that it's unequivocally yes. And so, you look at the team like Dallas's defense and what they're doing, just the players that jump off the screen, that's fine. But you want guys to fly under the radar, that's unassuming, where, you don't necessarily point out one or two players and make them a star, but that you turn on the tape and everybody's balling. I love that about this Eagles team. I think it's exactly how it should be. Continue to get a little dirt on your jerseys where people doubt you, whether it's the coaches, the players, continue to compare you to the Dallases and the Vikings and Giants. That's great for this Eagles team. That's what they need to hear as they move into this month of December, more than they've heard all year about how good they are in their green uniforms.
And we're going to talk about a great event you're going to have coming up in Philadelphia next week, and Eagles fans can get out there. CJ Gardner Johnson's going to be there. When you talk about CJ Gardner Johnson, all the interceptions that he's had, how proud are you? And are you kind of watching as a mentor about how well he's doing here in this defense?
100%. I think this is my first year, being in a seat where I'm just watching games and not being able to participate. And nothing has gotten me out of my seat more than watching CJ Gardner Johnson play this year. Just because I was just with him last year, he's been somebody that as soon as I got onto the Saints, went back, he reached out to me and has been trying to pick my brain for every bit of information that, he can get, to which I've opened up my entire book. And, that's like the little bro. And to see him come to Philly and have the success that he's having, and he's playing out of position, which is the most mind-boggling thing of it all to me, is just I'm super proud of it. It's fun to watch as a fan of the game, just what he's doing. It's fun to watch as a friend and a mentor, as a teammate. But obviously what he's added to this team too is, I think, just what they needed in that secondary.
Now, we've seen some of the videos about how vocal he is, how he lets his personality out, a lot of trash talking. We saw what he did to the Falcons banner at the game, throwing the football at it. I'm getting a sense, I like his personality. I still see some of it, but I'm getting a sense that he's tempered it maybe a little bit coming into the locker room here with the Eagles. Do you get that sense as well?
No, I think it's growth and maturation, right? He's still a young player. And I think one of the things that I love about him the most is that he's a lot smarter than he puts off, right? And he's somebody who a lot of people will look at him and judge a book by his cover and won't think that he's an intelligent person, but he's very calculated, and all of the things that he does is very much he thinks about and puts a lot of thought to. So when I watch how he agitates players on the field, as a teammate, you love it. Like, it's a tactical advantage in a game. He's gotten multiple people kicked out of, games, big time games, playoff games. That helps our team, right? So I tell him all the time, never change, be yourself, because he doesn't get penalties, right? So I love it. And I think, when we talk about why the Eagles fans loved me, is because I had grit, I had fight, I talked trash, I flew around and gave everything I got. And you get that every day with CJ Gardner Johnson. And I think that's why, right now he's getting embraced by the city.
Now, when the Eagles were working out a possible trade with the Saints for him, did they consult you and talk to you about what he could bring to the team?
Well, I had a conversation with Howie Roseman just about it real quick. Just saying, hey, I vouch for him. He's a guy that I think, one, has the talent, but if you surround him with good leaders, CJ Gardner Johnson is a guy that, respects strong leadership. And I think with that in place, obviously the Eagles do have that. Like, he's the perfect guy for the locker room.
So when you look at the NFC right now, when I was watching that 49ers offense, I'm like, my goodness, Kyle Shanahan's got a good player at every spot, or a great player at every spot. When you look at the 49ers, when you look at the Cowboys, the Vikings, the Eagles, when you look at having good receivers, a good tight end, good O-line, quarterback, where do you think the Eagles are in the NFC? I know Dallas Goedert's hurt right now, but where do you think they are as far as having a complete offense compared to those other teams?
Well, I think, I think the Eagles are right up there, to be honest. And I think the Eagles are probably the only team right now in the NFC that I think can win in multiple ways. I think a lot of the teams, if they get outside of their formula, they struggle. We looked at the Vikings when they abandoned the run and wanted to throw it all day. The Cowboys will destroy that. The Cowboys struggle when Dak throws the ball too much and they abandon the run, right? The same thing with the Giants. If they throw the ball too many times, they can't rush it with Saquon. All of a sudden, they can't win. And I think the wild card is the 49ers, because the addition of all of a sudden McCaffrey, Shanahan, is just some new juice into that team. Jimmy G being back at the helm is added some stability. I think they are a team that can ascend and continue to get steam. But I think right now, who's proven themselves consistently throughout the season to have the most versatility when it comes to how you can win and how you can change your offense based on the defenses you play has to be the Philadelphia Eagles.
Malcolm, when you see what Jalen Hurts did in the fourth quarter, not only I think he was like 8 for 11 throwing the ball, some big pass plays, but the way he took over the game running. And then on a 4th and 2, he has 2 defenders, whether it's a lineman, linebacker, whoever, and this guy is able to get through these defenders. I guess those 600-pound squats, do they pay off? I mean, how much does it impress you with what he's doing? Kind of willed the team to a win in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, when you say it's a game of inches, right? And it's like, you don't talk about why those 600-pound squats matter. And this exactly in these situations, these 4th and short, 4th and 2, and it's not a pass splitter they call it a design quarterback run. And most quarterbacks will run into the back of the lineman. Instead, he jump cuts and gets downhill north and south and runs through, 2 arm tackles to get just enough, for that first down. That is a crucial play. We don't win that game without that, right? And those things come directly from his work habits in the off seasons, during the season, his physical ability to actually get that done. There are a lot of quarterbacks. We saw Josh Allen couldn't get off the line of scrimmage a couple games ago. Kirk Cousins also trying to do a sneak and can't do it. Like, these things are not easy to do, but he can do it because of his build, because of his work ethic, the things that he's prepared himself to do, to where, okay, I don't have to take over the game with my arm, just put the game on my legs and will my team to victory, literally.
I mean, it's amazing to see the growth. And I know you talked to him after you played against him, to see him in the MVP conversation right now. I mean, what do you think it is? You think it's top 3, top 4 with Jalen Hurts in the MVP conversation?
I think he's in there. Honestly, the competition is so crazy right now that it changes week to week. But I think he's somebody that obviously is consistently in that conversation. You've had some people come and go, like Tua, a few of these guys, even at one point, you had Lamar Jackson in the conversation with the first 3 weeks. But I think one consistent name in that conversation has been Jalen Hurts. And it'll continue to stay in that conversation as we move forward. You still got, your Mahomes and a couple other guys out there that are Josh Allen's that are in that conversation. But again, I think Jalen has a really good chance, especially as we move forward.
I remember talking to you going into that playoff game against the Bucs last year, and Jalen did not look that great in that game, but he's won 14 of his last 16 regular season games. Are you surprised at all about how much he has elevated his game?
No, not once they embraced who he was as a player. I think that was really the only question mark for me. I had the vantage point of playing against him 2 years in a row, and he destroyed us. So I got to see, what problems he gives to a defense when you allow the offense to complement both his legs and his arm and his intellect. It's really difficult to defend. And so it's not surprising that once you wrap that around him, you embrace that aspect of him, the things that make him and different than everybody else. All of a sudden, the gears go. Everybody around him understands how to function. The offense moves. And then his leadership and all of the things that we love about him, Jalen the person, now they just make all of these things go. They bring your whole team together because you've embraced his skill set, his ability, his intellect. And I think, the people who know him are not surprised by this. I didn't know him, but I knew as an opponent, I can see these things on the field. I know somebody that has respect in the locker room. I can tell when somebody can make split-second decisions and is poised, it can't be rattled. All of these things I've seen it as an opponent, and to see him now leading his team in the hottest team in the league right now is just awesome. It's really, as a fan of the game, I'm really impressed.
Yeah, and before I ask you about your event next week, I noticed a couple times you said "we." Do you consider yourself a Philadelphia Eagle?
Always. I mean, I still have my home here in Philly. I still call Philly home. I'm definitely, still an Eagle and root for the team, and definitely get caught in many conversations saying "we" as I watch the Eagles.
Opioid addiction is a national public health crisis. The Someone You Know podcast from the Independence Blue Cross Foundation offers inspiring stories that challenge stigma, offer hope, and humanizes the disease of addiction. So download the new season 3 of Someone You Know on all major podcast platforms. Now, it's really cool. Next week, Tuesday, November 29th at Xfinity Live, right?
Yep.
6 to 9 p.m. It's the Fantasy Blitz, and tickets are available at the MalcolmJenkinsFoundation.org website. And this is going to benefit your foundation's financial literacy and education programs. You are still giving back in a huge way to Philadelphia. So how cool is it to have an event like this where Eagles fans can come out? And I believe there's going to be some fantasy advice given out.
Oh yeah. So, I haven't been in the market for a while, with COVID and then obviously going to the Saints. So this is my first event back in the city, back outside. So just being able to be around the fans at a time where the Eagles are playing well, was around some fantasy football. So have some of my friends there. CJ Gardner Johnson is going to be there. Connor Barwin, some of the other Eagles, former and current, will be coming through. And it's just a good opportunity. We've been building and doing work in Philadelphia, as you know, for years now. And one of the things that we've been doing, even since in my absence, has been building a financial literacy program in partnership with some of the schools here in Philadelphia. Parkway Northwest High School is one of the schools we've really adopted and started to roll those things out. But we need to change the way our youth thinks about money, or thinks about what they value, and then change about what their goals are. And then once they understand what they value and what their goals are, then we can talk about money as a tool to achieve those things that you value. And a lot of the times, those are the fundamental lessons that are missing when we talk about financial literacy. It's just what is it that we actually value and care about? How do we use these dollars to get the lifestyle we want, the security that we want? All of those things are very, very important. And events like the Fantasy Blitz help us build those programs. And so we've been doing a ton of work in Philadelphia with great support from the city. So please continue to support the foundation. You can buy tickets at tmjf.org. Donate, sign up to volunteer, come see us at the event. We're doing some amazing work.
Yeah, and Philly appreciates all the things you continue to do for Philly. By the way, I know you know fantasy football because I remember a couple of your press conferences when you were a player. I remember one time I literally think you got a text during a press conference about a fantasy question or decision you had to make.
Yeah. I'm still very much in it. That league that I was in back when I was still playing, I'm very much still a part of it. It's a little rough. It's a little more competitive nowadays, but making a last minute push for the playoffs.
Well, there you go. And if fans can come out and get some good fantasy advice. By the way, Jeff Saturday becoming head coach of the Colts, he actually had to step away from the fantasy league he was in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I want to ask you about that because Darren Sproles, former Saint, former Eagle, recently said, hey, I can come back if you need me to help with the punt return game. We see Ndamukong Suh come at the age of 34, 35. Robert Quinn, he's up there. How about Linval Joseph? Any chance, if they needed you, would you suit up again for the Eagles?
Well, here the problem is CJ Gardner Johnson is playing my position, so I don't know, and he's got it on lock right now. So I don't think y'all need me, to be honest. So I'll just be here in spirit. But you ask me that later in December, I don't know.
Well, in case something happens and they need you, I mean, CJ, you said is playing out of position. Maybe you could get back into position, but it's just interesting. You see all these guys, 34, 35. Yeah. Get in here in November and December and get that one last chance.
If that's what you're asking me, John, I can still play. I'm still in shape. I'm still working out. It's not far-fetched. I'm still in it. But it is. I do enjoy my seat of watching as a fan. But I could definitely, I could come in for a stretch.
I'm telling you, we got it on record just to let everybody know in case they need you if something happens. By the way, I remember talking to Kobe Bryant, and it's such a shame. And it's just terrible what happened with Kobe. I remember him telling me that he would literally be so superstitious, he would sit in one spot on the couch if the Eagles were winning and wouldn't move. How are you as a fan now watching these Birds games?
I don't have the superstitions because I didn't have them even as a player that much. But I do get intense when I watch the Eagles. Like, I feel like I'm in it. I can see the plays setting up. I feel like I'm Tony Romo. Like, I can see all the things happening, what's about to come, what's not about to happen. And it's traumatic. I mean, it's dramatic. It makes the game a lot more dramatic because you have no control over it. Like, as a player, if I see something, I can go do something about it. As a fan, I'm just really sitting here, hoping that they see what I see. But so that part is a little bit nerve-wracking. I think I stand up a lot in right this close to the TV. I do that a lot, but it's other than that, I'm pretty normal.
And you're not throwing anything at the flat screen?
I'm not breaking my TVs or anything like that. I will go walk away if I get too upset. But I'm pretty normal so far. For a year out, I feel like I'm doing good.
That's pretty impressive. So is it more stressful sometimes watching than being in the moment?
Honestly, yes, I think it is, because in the moment, you've prepared for this moment, right? You don't hear the crowd. You're focused on the moment, and you kind of in your zone. And so you really don't feel like that pressure. As a fan, you hear all the crowd noise, you feel the vibration, you feel the tense, they're narrating it for you and saying, hey, this is for all the marbles. Like you feel all of that. It's a different experience as a fan. And I honestly, I like it. It makes for good TV. But even just from the game's perspective, it is interesting to see all of these other things that play, that it's not just the X's and O's, but it's this player's background, what happened to him earlier this week, that is all influencing what's happening on the field. And that stuff to me is interesting.
Well, that's cool. I need to see you doing some games then. If you've got the Tony Romo sense and you see stuff coming.
I'm not going down. Tony ruins it for everybody half the time. He's telling us what we don't know. But no, I like watching.
By the way, before I let you go, great event next Tuesday at Xfinity Live. You can get your tickets at malcolmjenkinsfoundation.org. Jeffery Lurie, the Eagles owner, I believe it's 18 or 19 times now a winning record. It's been the owner since 1995. And he did a lot of work, not only winning the Super Bowl, but with the social injustice. And he listened to you guys as players. Give me an idea of what Jeffery Lurie means to the organization, running the team the way he does. And is Philadelphia one of the more special places to play because of ownership, because of the support from the top?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what the Eagles are doing, when you look at the organizations that historically have had success over periods of time, and not just Super Bowls, but like, who do you know is going to field a competitive team more often than not? Those organizations usually have really good ownership. And I think that the Eagles are one of those stations in our league that is a special place to play for. I know I felt like that when I came into the building. I know Darren Sproles felt like that when he came into the building. Jeff Lurie is somebody who is going to invest in everything to make his football players the best players they can be. So everything from the weight room, the facility, all of that is top notch. Even the cafeterias. I'm like, people sleep on that stuff. Like, that's a big deal. And all of it is there, and he'll cut that check anytime. And then one of the things that I appreciate is that, one, he's very, very visible. He's around. People can see him. But when it came down, when we needed him as players and we wanted to push the envelope on the social justice commentary and use our platforms, that kind of immediately put us, at odds with team ownership. But he was somebody who created an environment that allowed us to use our voices, where he didn't put himself as a hurdle or impede what we were trying to do. And I know I appreciated that as a player, just to be able to, even if you didn't endorse it or stand next to me, just not staying in the way was a big deal, especially around those times. And I think from those moments till now, as an organization, they've done numerous things in the city to help with, especially player-driven things that the organization has gotten behind, whether it be individual foundations, things about criminal justice reform, gun violence. It's just been a great body of work when you talk about a team owner who not only can outfit a really good program and football team, but have impact through his players in the community, but also through the organization in the community.
Well said. And this is another special run, and it's cool that you're watching it just like Eagles fans. Before I let you go, one final question. When you were watching Monday night against Washington, CJ Gardner Johnson called for the out of bounds hit. Didn't think it was. Brandon Graham, the hit on the quarterback, and then face mask not called on Dallas Goedert. How close to the TV were you?
Honestly, the CJ Gardner Johnson hit, that one got me upset because he was clearly still in bounds. But those things happen, right? That's part of the season. So half of me that night was like, you know what, this is exactly what we needed. But the other half of me was mad that we lost. So it was hit or miss. Those things, but you're gonna run into those games, right? Where referees the calls don't go your way, or you get a couple bad bounces. You can't just turn it over and lose. You got to be able to bounce back and find a way and muster a way. So I think those are going to be lessons for this team as they look at, they evaluate the film. They'll see those opportunities that they had to get back into the game or to make a different play here or there, in spite of the refs. And I think that's the mentality of like somebody who's going to be undenied, a team that's going to make a way regardless of the hurdles in front of them. And I think that's what you'll see out of this team.
All right. Well, we're all going to be watching Sunday night just like you will be. And then we'll see you Tuesday night for a great event.
Yep. See you there. Yeah, John, thanks for emceeing as well.
Let's go.
You're going to co-host. It's going to be a good night. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah, let's do it. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
No problem, brother.
Thanks, Malcolm.
All right.